they both of won and they both of lose. Up the watch affected stroke of midnight on poll date, both of Benny Gantz, Israel's new policy singer, and Benjamin Netanyahu, the old wizard, solemnly proclaimed win. Mr. Gantz, a high and telegenic ex-war head, strode behind and hereinafter through the phase of his dark blue and whites association's staff in Tel Aviv, obviously savoring the new feeling, how power following a beating policy fight, quite rather than the cruel wars he one day had to struggle. Mr. Netanyahu, his productivity improved by year of practice, stood in a douche of sparkling confetti in one arm wrapped up about his radiant woman, Sarah, and the some flapping to his loyal supporters at the Likud side staff. Later, in the common cold policy lighting of date, in almost all the votes calculated, both of men's parties had every provided 35 of 120 seats in Israel's parliament, the Israeli parliament. Yet, in Israelite policy, a day of vote can question less than rather than the weeks of turnover and behavior it will get to hammer a steering coalition. The is a nation wherever no policy side has always controlled on its their own. And the is wherever the maths and the man they urge, Bibi the Mage, come together. Mr. Netanyahu now seems to include a precise benefit taking into account the force of order wing and sectarian parties in the new Israeli parliament. He though forced Likud's force in parliament. It's a convenient win for Bibi, says Anshel Pfeffer, a reporter in Israel's Haaretz paper who has spelled a life story of the Israelite lead. Down there's no some way to put it present. Down there is a really big quantity of Israelis who trust he is largest suitable to be main secretary and provide safety, in spite the concoction of corrupt practices versus him. Mr. Netanyahu's powerful relationships in planet leaders, consisting U.S. CEO Donald Trump card, and his new coverage to Arabic state, include play to his benefit and Israel's location on the planet phase. But assembly allies will not be lightweight, nor out of expenses, following which has been named the obscene poll campaigning in Israelite story. It was as well fought versus the background of Mr. Netanyahu's probable bill of indictment on corrupt practices extortion. Mr. Netanyahu has rejected any offense, and charged the print and leftward of launch a Hague search versus him and his household, but he will be bargaining not fair for his policy next while he tries to woo partners. He hopes they will each stay by him if he is loaded next a definitive listening or perhaps undergo law. How would Harant main ministers immune of proceedings time in office space? And capacity order wing partners are noticeably steaming above his tactic and engineering, consisting 11th hour pleas to voters to cast all their supporting over Likud or the leftward is departure to gain. But Mr. Netanyahu could see in various directions. He has lot of options, assesses inquirer Mitchell Barak, who has treated in lot Israelite leaders in the history, consisting Mr. Netanyahu. He can go in order of center, a tight by the government, a domestic oneness by the government in Gantz, or several conjunction. So distant, Mr. Netanyahu has speak of lathe to his nature partners. Mr. Gantz, who may include scientific a slight policy class of not bouncing in exaltation so quickly, is as well looking close at the policy math to see if numbers could add up, otherwise to persuade CEO Reuven Rivlin to see him as the man top located to do the job. Yet, where these new numbers get Israel, Mr. Gantz has done his mark. This economics is powerful, safety is powerful, and yet a new political figure was capable to construct a legal and menacing option to the governing side, during a pair of months and practically out of anywhere, points out Yohanan Plesner, CEO of the nonpartisan Israel Democratic State Institution. However, the result obviously constitutes a crisp increase of supporting to Mr. Netanyahu, as the poll was seen as a plebiscite on his management and priorities for the nationality. Mr. Gantz, a carrier man who had to find out on the work, occasionally stumble and stammering in front line of the implacable blinding of TV cameras, transferred out an efficient weight. Dark blue and whites, that was shaped just weeks ago by Mr. Gantz's Israel elasticity side, the Yesh added side of ex-financial secretary Yair Lapid, and the Telem side of ex-defense secretary Moshe Yaalon, disputed the might of the Netanyahu car. But its obscure centrist plate, spurred by and against Netanyahu driving, did not persuade quite Israelis to gambling their next on it. In the poll, some numbers are creature marked. New distant right parties, seen by lot Israelis as bigot and homophobic, do not seem to include cross the election limit. They turned on the ultra-nationalist, libertarian Zahut side of Moshe Feiglin, a celebrity of the campaigning who telephone call for legalizing marijuana, restoration, the tertiary shrine on the disputed sacred website in Jerusalem named to Jew as Shrine Install and to Muslim as Haram al-Sharif, annexing the held Western banking and hopeful Palestinians down there to keep. And on the leftward, the labor side, that one day dominated the Israelite policy scenery, extended its refuge and looks potential to end up in just 6 seats. This dark blue and whites association is the new old labor side, says the ex-Labor MKI Nat Wolf, who telephone call Labor this side that utilized to make main ministers. It's a wonderful accomplishment. And in spite a historic low strike amongst Israelite Arab people, that led to warnings of policy death, 2 Arabic alliances, Hadash Tal and Balad United Arabic listing, controlled to safe 6 and 4 persons seats accordingly, though how yet symbolism a decrease. The ram of Mr. Netanyahu's precautionary, in the 2015 poll, how Arab people were vote in droves, yet stings in the society, as does the nationality state log on recent year how says Jew include a distinctive order to domestic personality determination in the nation and puts Jew over Arabic language as the formal tongue. The disillusionment and hopelessness in Palestine communities in the Western Banking and Gaza Strip will be though more as they see the results of an poll, in that they had no tell, how will form their next. Down there's no distinction among one side or else, comments vet Palestine political figure Mustafa Barghouti, president of the Palestine Domestic Lead. All of them are inviting for the extension of the invasion and community house. Weeks stay up the definitive form of Israel's 21SAINT Israeli parliament will be precise. And summer will give more than policy warmth. Mr. Netanyahu could do story by proper Israel's longest-serving main secretary, superior the nation's basest dad David Ben-Gurion. He could as well be the at first main secretary to be convicted in office space. But the poll has underlined once again how Bibi knows, one way or else, how to hold fight behind.